And good afternoon to you. This week's From the Heart of the DS is coming to you by way of video. And may I encourage you, pastors, official workers, to forward this on to your congregation or post it on your church website. We'd love to get this message particularly out to as many people as possible. As I was thinking yesterday, it was just about 3 years ago, this very time of the year, that I was privileged to be on a 4-nation vision trip to C&MA mission fields with Bob and Esther Featherland, who at the time was the Vice President of International Ministries. And we traveled to a couple of locations in Spain and then to Paris, France, to a creative access country, and ultimately I spent a couple of days in Istanbul, Turkey. It was the trip of a lifetime. And it permanently etched things on my mind and heart, things that I want to share a little bit with you today. First of all, in every one of these places, I observed overwhelming lostness. In Spain, it is a nation that is steeped in Roman Catholicism. Most people are resistant to the evangelical message of a personal saving relationship with Jesus Christ. France today is what we would call a post-Christian nation, and most people simply don't believe in God and don't want to have anything to do with religion. The creative access country was dotted with Orthodox churches all over the place. Everywhere you went in those churches, you would see the symbol of the cross, and yet people do not know the power of the cross of Jesus Christ. And in Turkey, it was the frequent Muslim calls to prayer, ringing out, that were reminders of the great spiritual darkness in that nation. In that nation, the percentage of followers of Christ, those who believed in Jesus Christ, begins with a decimal point. It is a very, very small percentage. So yes, the missionary movement has been at it for a while. The Christian Missionary Alliance, the movement of which we are a part, has been doing great work for 127 years. And yet, the spiritual need in our world remains great. If we believe, John 14:6, that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, the only way to the Father, if we believe Acts 4:12, that Jesus is the only name given under heaven whereby men must be saved, then we must believe that we still have a compelling call on us to get spiritual light out into dark areas. The second thing that sticks in my mind and heart regarding that trip is that much of the work that we are involved in doing as a movement is slow going and requires perseverance and patience. One of the repeated messages that was shared with me to share with the folks back home was, please ask them to be patient with us. This is going to take some time. In Tres Cantos, Spain, a highly Roman Catholic area, C&MA international workers, the Westergrens, are working very hard and seeing very slow progress. As often it takes years of investment to see even one person come to know Jesus Christ. In Terrassa, Spain, the work is amongst relocated Moroccans, and the spiritual ground is very hard. In Paris, one of the international workers that I had conversation with had built a relationship with a non-believer. And finally that non-believer asked this young man, as an American, what he was doing in France. And while he didn't wear on his sleeve that he was a missionary, he felt that he had to tell the truth of why he was there. And this gentleman, his friend, became irate and angry, and essentially said, go back to the United States. We don't want you here. We don't need you here. Religion has done enough damage. And in the creative access country that I visited, very few people are followers of Christ, and many barriers to the gospel message exist. This is tough work. It's going to take time, and it's going to take much prayer for breakthroughs to happen. Third, I observed that we are a part of a great movement with fantastic international workers. It was missions expert Ralph Winters who observed that the C&MA is one of the very few missions organizations that has been successful in sending missionaries to nations, and then having those nations become sending nations so that they too are sending missionaries. And I saw some of that on that trip. And it's one of the exciting things about the C&MA. In Madrid, Spain, there are a number of workers from the alliance churches in Latin American countries. And they are there doing great work in the greater Madrid area. They are passionate, they are faith-filled, and they are seeing forward progress. It was in Madrid that I was also privileged to meet a Chilean C&MA missionary to Russia, just in Madrid, doing visa work to get back into Russia. And someone later told me that this man from Chile is the best evangelist that the C&MA has on the Russian field. In Terrassa, Spain, I met Jorge and Marta, who represent the C&MA in Colombia, or from Colombia, South America. They had spent time in a Muslim country as missionaries out of Colombia. Their group had been infiltrated there, and they had been ratted out, so to speak, and forced to leave the country. But now they had come back to this area of Spain where they were able to reach out in the name of Jesus to people from that same country who had relocated to Spain. Everywhere I went, I met dedicated workers who deeply love Jesus Christ and who deeply love the people in the place where they are working. The team had just landed in the Creative Access country where I visited. Landed there just a couple of years after a rather severe war. And they were doing the hard work of learning the difficult language of that country, of learning the culture of that country, and trying to figure out how they could build bridges for the gospel into the lives of people in that country. By the way, now they've started a community center. They're teaching English, and they're being able to build great bridges and having an opportunity to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Well, many of you who are watching this and listening to it have been to other countries and have observed similar things. Even this, in the past few weeks, we've had 2 teams in Creative Access country, 2 teams from churches in our district. A 3rd team from a church in our district is going back to that same country. I think you would agree with me that we have a great privilege to be a part of the C&MA, this missionary and church planting movement that has taken the Great Commission seriously for 127 years. And I believe, from the bottom of my heart, I believe this is a mission, a movement that calls us and compels us to be all in. There are great needs in our world today. Yes, great material needs, but also great spiritual needs. And C&MA workers are in the most strategic places seeking to meet those needs. Concerns me that for the last several years, our Great Commission Fund budget that funds our Alliance International workers has been flatlined. We have struggled to meet what is a diminished C&MA workforce around the world. And right now, October 2014, once again, the Great Commission Fund is struggling. Knowing that people are still in spiritual darkness, still need to know Jesus, can I urge us all to be all in? Can I ask us in these next few weeks to give more than we have been giving, to give more than we've been planning to give, in order to help fully fund our international worker team in the great work that they are doing? We are blessed to be in a place where gospel access is plentiful, where material resources are plentiful. In gratitude to the Lord and in willingness to sacrifice for the things that are the most important things, let's dig a little deeper, give a little more, maybe even give a lot more, so that a witness to the gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the ends of the earth. Thanks for listening, and thanks for giving. God bless you.